Good morning, everyone, and welcome to IGTV. My name is Joe Kincannon, and with us this morning we have William H. Murray. And Bill, you're going to be talking about tearing off the PCI DSD Band-Aid. Should be very interesting. Now, is this one of those ouchless Band-Aids?
Oh, no.
Oh, boy. Okay. All right. Go ahead, Bill. Take it away.
Okay. More than a quarter of a century ago, while I was still at IBM, time flies when you're having fun, I had discussions with the staff at Sears, then the nation's flagship retailer, about their forthcoming Discover credit card. I tried to convince them to take the opportunity to force the industry to replace magstripe cards with smart cards. They were Sears. They had the clout. They could make it happen. They didn't, and the rest is history. Now, the nation's new flagship retailers, Walmart, Target, CVS, and McDonald's, are making it happen. Sears and Kmart will come along. Partly in response to these forward-leaning merchants, Visa has announced that it will expand its Technology Innovation Program, TIP, to the U.S. They will begin transitioning to EMV standard cards and infrastructure. Some of you are aware that I have been very critical of the payment card industry for continuing to use the broken mag, stripe, and pin system. By doing so, they have put the necessary public trust and confidence in the retail payment system at risk. I'm torn between what took you so long and better late than never. The EMV Eurocard, MasterCard, and Visa technology that Visa plans to use has been in use in the rest of the world for years. It uses a contactless smart card and optionally a signature or PIN. It is already deployed in the U.S. in some markets, and the leading retailers already mentioned. Here is an American Express EMV card that I have had for a couple of years. For reasons of backwards compatibility, it has a mag stripe. That's good because I can use it in EMV mode in only a limited number of places. Those places, of course, include McDonald's, CVS, Target, and Walmart. It's bad because the vulnerabilities of mag stripe and PIN will probably persist for several more years. Many of the users of EMV point-of-sale readers deployed by these flagship merchants are foreign travelers to the U.S. These retailers have bitten the bullet, but they cannot get all of the return on their investment until Americans carry EMV cards. Therefore, these retailers have been a source of public pressure on the payment card industry to deploy the technology. Walmart has been castigating the payment card industry for more than a year now for blocking the use of this technology. Google Walmart EMV and you can see for yourself. Of course, blocking is stronger rhetoric than I'm prepared to use. There is history here and business reasons why the issuers have not used EMV in the U.S. For example, the reason that Sears did not deploy smart cards was that the barrier to entry was simply too high. It was far cheaper to exploit the existing infrastructure than to replicate it. While I understand these reasons, and to some degree am sympathetic, I have argued for some time that we cannot continue to rely on a broken technology for the security of our retail payment system. In the presence of cheaper counterfeiting technology, we have strengthened our currency and even checks to the point where cards are now the weak link in our system. Notice that the merchants in this list are all nationwide chains that operate their own systems for authorizing payments. Part of the resistance in the U.S. is rooted in the fact that most of our small and even medium-sized merchants use third-party card service providers to accept card payments. These third-party providers enable them to accept any issuer's card without having to have a separate agreement with and connection to that issuer. While it is an industry standard, EMV is also proprietary. The issuers share the exact workings under contracts and non-disclosure agreements only within the industry. The important thing for you and I to know is that the card signs the transaction without disclosing its own identity, the credit card number, to the point of sale device. EMV resists skimmers and rogue or compromised point of sale devices. It resists replay attacks and card cloning attacks. One interesting feature of EMV is that a card can be limited in the number of pinless transactions that it can accept. As with magstripe, in some but not all transactions, EMV will use pins and signatures to resist the fraudulent use of lost or stolen cards. Because the primary protection against the use of lost or stolen cards is disabling them after they are reported lost or stolen, pins and signatures will not be required for all small value transactions. For example, when I buy a Big Mac, I simply touch my card to the point of sale device and check the display and receipt to satisfy myself that I was charged the correct amount. No signature or pin. However, if I use the same card to purchase an HD TV, I expect to enter a PIN or sign a transaction slip. The pinless transactions are limited in number. An internal counter keeps track of the number of pinless transactions. The count is reset to 0 for every PIN transaction. If the count reaches the threshold, the next transaction must involve, will prompt for, the PIN. Because the point of sale device cannot capture the EMV card number, it is safe to enter a PIN into it, at least with EMV cards. The PIN is only useful with the card or the card number. I have long argued against debit card transactions where both the card number and the PIN appear in the clear at the point of sale. These are the source of many counterfeit cards. While it is now relatively cheap to clone a magstripe card, knowing only the public number, this is not sufficient to clone an EMV card. Putting aside the fact that it is more expensive to write chips than stripes, cloning the EMV card requires knowledge of its secret token. It is secret for a reason, a security reason. Another reason the issuers have resisted EMV in the US is that it does not solve the fraudulent card not present problem. Those online transactions where the rogue has the card number but not the card. Most solutions to this problem involve a display and power, expensive though not impossible to put on a card. Oh, I almost forgot about PCI DSS, the Band-Aid that the issuers have been relying upon to hold their broken system together. Visa has announced that after October 1st, 2012, merchants who have 75% or more of their transactions originating on EMV-equipped terminals will be exempt from compliance with DSS, at least for any year in which that continues to be so. This is a big incentive to those third-party card service providers, who have been one of the problems. For them, DSS compliance is so expensive that this rule will be a big incentive for them to move in the direction of EMV. Their participation and cooperation is essential to success of the program. Some have suggested that merchants will resist replacing their point-of-sale devices. Probably true, but resist only means that they will take their time. McDonald's did not replace their terminals, only added the EMV reader to the top. Check it out. But unless you know that you are looking for a red semicircle at the top of the point-of-sale device, the one that you're accustomed to seeing, you might miss it altogether. The expense for McDonald's was not so much in this part as in installing it. While we think of them as capital equipment, point-of-sale devices are actually consumables, with a life measured in months to years. One can buy the latest feature-rich model with built-in Wi-Fi or cellular communication for hundreds of dollars. Most merchants buy their point-of-sale devices from the card service provider who will be motivated to see them upgrade. Now, I wish I could tell you that everyone is going to love this technology as much as I do, but I can't. In fact, you can expect to hear all kinds of slurs about its security. After all, anything built by man can be broken by man. For example, 2 weeks ago at Black Hat, an MVP, we do not mention the names of MVPs, it feeds their narcissism, was quoted as saying, "We think an EMV skimmer poses a serious threat due to ease of installation and is very difficult to detect." His English, not mine. First, a skimmer would be a tool, not a threat. Second, it might be easy to build and conceal. But the issue is getting the card to cough up its secret token. There is no command to ask it to do that. A cryptographer will tell you that one can simply ask it to authenticate a lot of transactions, a few million might do, and then solve for the secret. A security person will tell you that will take a long time. In fact, it will take so long that it is not practical, much less efficient. So when you read these expert remarks, remember two things. First, this is a mature technology, used and tested around the world. It is new only in the US market. Second, however vulnerable it may be, it is orders of magnitude stronger than the broken technology which it replaces. Now, getting from our current system to EMV will not be without problems. Experience in Europe suggests that many problems will be related to the transition in general and backward compatibility to mag, stripe, and pin in particular. Anticipating and mitigating these problems will not be easy, but it is why we are called professionals and are paid the big bucks. See you next week.
Way to go, Bill. Very interesting. Do you think they'll get this done within the next, let's say, 2 to 5 years?
I think that's about the right time frame. You know, we will start to see card service providers begin to deploy this technology. But the real issue is the cards. Nobody, you know, this is a chicken and egg problem. Until there are cards, nobody cares about the readers. Until there are readers, nobody cares about the cards. So the commitment of Visa to say we're going to issue cards to U.S. people, there should be enough by 2012 for merchants to notice. That's the big thing, and I think the commitment of Visa to do this is going to be very important. I think American Express is ready. After all, they've had cards out there for a while and have at least been using them on a pilot basis. So I think we can move fairly rapidly as soon as Visa begins to issue cards. MasterCard also knows this technology, has used it with some banks in some locales, and is prepared to move forward. And of course, we know that Google wants to use the same readers to authorize payments using Google Phone and Android. So I think we're well on our way, and that we can finally get this done.
Wow. So that would take a whole segment of the fraud piece out of the equation then, correct?
Right. No more skimming of magstripe cards, no more cloning of magstripes, no more theft of pins at rogue point-of-sale devices and using those then to go to ATMs and extract currency. This gets to a big part of the fraud. The part that it doesn't get to, of course, is the online payments. And that's one of the reasons why the card issuers have kept looking for something else as an alternative. I think we will have an alternative very shortly, and it will be in the form of using of mobile computing devices, otherwise called smartphones.
Yeah, well, everything seems to be converging at the same time here. It's like we're all racing to the gate for the same thing.
In part because the problem has really gotten out of hand. If you read the Bank Info Security News, you will see that credit card fraud is up dramatically over just the last year. And so the urgency of the problem is getting up there. And PCI DSS, as good an idea as it was, one report says that only about 1/6 of the merchants have actually complied with PCI DSS. So it's been a Band-Aid poorly applied, and it really hasn't gotten the job done. It's just whatever good it's done, it's been exhausted. So it's now.
I guess they were trying to push it down to the lowest level, and the lowest level wasn't buying in.
Well, but even if the merchants had all complied, you were still left with the fact that a lot of card holders, the people who used the cards, were doing foolish things.
Right.
Which, they used them at rogue devices. They used pins when they could have used signatures. All kinds of other things contributed to the problem. And there was no program. Well, there actually was. There was a program called Verified by Visa, and which MasterCard called Safecard, which was an out-of-band mechanism for authorizing payments, but it required the cooperation of the merchant, the issuer, and the customer all at the same time. And as a consequence, it just never took off. But it would even deal with the online problem, and that was one of the reasons that Visa and MasterCard really wanted to go that direction rather than go the direction of EMV.
Yeah. All right, Bill, great discussion, and I'm sure this could go on for another hour if I went back with you, because there's a lot of discussion points involved here. The point-of-sale devices and everything else, the proper configuration, and the fastest growing businesses in the city of New York, quite frankly, is the food services division, and the food services people are the ones that are probably more vulnerable than anybody else to all of this fraud and everything else that's going on out there today. So great talk. If
you read the Verizon database or data breach report, you will find support for what you just said. That's their concern is the hospitality industry, but retail on the street in general, hospitality in particular. Next week we're going to talk about AES. Some of your listeners will have heard that AES has been broken. So next week we will talk about the breach of AES.
AES encryption, huh? All right. All right, great. Great talk.